It's Dew Time with Pastor Steph.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Rise and shine, everyone. You are on with It's Dew Time with Pastor Steph. I know. I don't look like Pastor Steph. It's because I'm Shontyce. Yes, I get to start the week off with you guys from the beginning of the show. How are you? Praying that you had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful weekend. Pastor Steph is getting some rest, and she has entrusted me to hold it down for her. God has entrusted me to hold it down with him and insist in him with making sure that your morning, your week gets started off great. So, where were you last week? As Pastor Steph always loves to ask. There were so many great topics. So many points being brought out last week. The Dew Time crew with Pastor Steph is just always on point. But of course, the most memorable thing for me last week was the switch tip. And we are up to switch tip 230, y'all. Can y'all imagine 230 switch tips now? It's amazing when God has called you and he has chosen you to share his word, spread his word across many people, across many platforms. And one day I had to ask God, like, wow, God, how jacked up am I? That not only are you ensuring that these switch tips that I realize they're for me, but you're entrusting me to give them. So it's like, I'm going to make sure you hear it because you got to give it. And you're there when you say it. So you got it. You're in attendance. You show up. But it's a blessing. It's a blessing because God is entrusting me to share these switch tips with you guys, but he has to give it to me first. And a lot of these switch tips, he gives me in the middle of me praying, in the middle of me studying and reading his word with him, sometimes having conversations with other people. And it's not always God being out of my mouth directly. But sometimes things people say to me, sometimes I say things to people and then it's like, wait a minute, that's a good switch tip. And I'll just start, I have a whole list of like switch tip ideas, y'all, that I refer to, that I go back to every time it's time for me to start preparing for the next switch tip. So our switch tip last week, switch tip 230 was let God call you out. And I love the way Pastor Steph came in her closing and she made sure she included that in her closing with the overall topic and conversation and stories for last Monday. When we're talking about letting God call you out, you know, I had to get corrected regarding something yesterday, and I didn't feel too good about it because even though I did feel like I could have done better, I didn't realize I did as bad as I did. And it just like shot my whole mood yesterday. Because again, I don't care who you are, I don't care what status, what title you have, where you are in life, how many failures, how many accomplishments. No one enjoys hearing that what they did was wrong, that they could have done better, that they didn't do as good as they thought. Nobody. I don't care who you are. So if you're saying no, not me, you're lying. Okay? However, you do learn if you stay in constant communication with the Lord, in constant collaboration with the Lord, and you answer that tap on the shoulder, he says, I need and want you to grow, and you finally say yes, you learn to appreciate it because the correction matures you. And as I've stated here before, I've gotten into the habit of, in the midst of my prayers, in the midst of me going to God with things that I'm feeling, with things that I'm desiring, I asked God literally, I'm like, God, please correct or confirm. So please correct my thoughts or confirm my thoughts. Please correct my choices or confirm my choices. Please correct my desires or confirm my desires. And obviously the Lord is hearing and he's responding because the correction came out of nowhere. I ain't asked for it. Again, how many of us really ask for the correction, y'all? Because you don't want to hear what you're doing is wrong. Okay? But again, you learn to appreciate it. So there were a few verses that we covered, but I would love to go over one of the definitions in one of the verses. Egregious, meaning outstandingly bad, horrific, grievous, horrendous, atrocious, wicked. And those are the categories, those are the traits that we fit in when we don't allow God to call us out, because he doesn't call us out to condemn us. He doesn't call us out to say, hey, you the fool, and you're going to stay a fool, and you're never going to get better. No, he calls us out. And again, it doesn't have to be in public. You can push him if you don't take heed to what he's saying and if he's serious about correcting you. But he calls you out to you. And it's our job to take heed to what he's saying. So if you missed last week's switch to let God call you out, make sure you go back and you listen. Make sure you take the time today to read verses Matthew 7, 3-5, Proverbs 11:2, and Galatians 6, 4-5. All 2, 4, 5 of those verses highlight and support why we need to make sure we're humbling ourselves, making the switch from pride. God says a fool doesn't want to be corrected. You're stupid if you don't want to be corrected. That's biblical. Go and read. Making the switch from being prideful to humble and letting God call you out, because it's only to grow you in him. It's only to enhance your relationship with God and Jesus. It's to enhance the person that he has created you to be. It's to enhance the work that he has set out for you to do. Like, come on, y'all. And make sure you go back so that you can listen to all of the news updates. Last week we had our Socially Conscious with your girl V. Amazing stories, amazing highlights. I don't remember Pastor Steph being able to really get to a topic with us. I could be wrong, but the updates and stories that which she always brings great updates and stories every single week. But last week definitely was enough to just have us so engaged in conversing in the story. So make sure you go back and you listen, okay? Because listen, we're live YouTube and Facebook now ever since the beginning of February of this year. Being live is amazing because of the interaction. You can always go back and watch. You can always go back and listen for those who are listening to audio. But there is nothing like being on here live, y'all. Nothing like being on here live. Being able to be in the chat room with us, because this chat room be hitting. It be hitting. Okay. So make sure you go back. We are shaking the Monday morning blues this morning, y'all. So regardless of how good or bad your week was last week, regardless of how peaceful or chaotic your weekend was, God is mindful of that. And he has put this platform, this show into place so that we can come together and encourage each other, lift each other up, assist each other in having not only a phenomenal day and morning, but a phenomenal week, okay? So make sure you go DM a friend, text a friend, call a friend, whatever, however you communicate, send a birdie with a note. Let them know that it's Due Time with Pastor Steph, featuring your girl Shontyce this morning. It's on, and make sure you don't go anywhere because we will definitely be right back.
If you love history, you need to hear about Junius G. Groves, the potato king of the world. Born into slavery in 1859, Groves was freed and joined the Great Exodus to Kansas in 1879. Starting as a humble farmhand, his dedication earned him 9 acres to farm. By 1884, he and his wife Matilda had saved enough to buy 80 acres near Edwardsville, Kansas. Their success multiplied, and by 1888 they owned a staggering 2,000 acres and lived in a 22-room mansion. At his peak, Groves harvested a record 721,500 bushels of potatoes, securing his title. But he didn't stop there. Groves expanded his ventures to include a general store, orchards, and investments in mining and banking. His achievements? Groves credited the unwavering support of his wife and 12 children. Junius G. Groves left behind a powerful legacy of resilience and prosperity in early 20th century America. From enslavement to empire, Groves
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back to It's Due Time with Pastor Steph, with your girl Shontyce this morning. Do y'all pay attention to these PSAs? Well, it's amazing because we're able to come across all of this unknown Black history. Let me speak for myself. I had no idea that we contributed to, founded, and accomplished so many. Did they say they lived in a 22, 23 room mansion? What? That's not what we learned in school. We learned Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. Anyone who knows Coming to America gets that. We learned Thurgood Marshall, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. We learn, and it's great. Listen, these are trailblazers. The names that I just mentioned, trailblazers. However, they don't really put us on to all of the amazing things that our people have done. All these PSAs we've been coming across that we've been playing over the course of the past few weeks of how, we thought this person on the other side of the fence founded this, even with the Ford car company and the Disney. Oh my goodness, the gentleman who was doing all of the animation for Disney, he got absolutely no credit. The other side of the fence did. But God is saying it is time. It is time. Regardless of which side of the fence it is time that the people that I chose to get the recognition actually gets the recognition because I chose them. God chose them. So how are we now putting it? But that's what we do because it's all about image, it's all about appearance. But we understand that God doesn't pay any attention to that, right? Oh my goodness. So we have to make sure that we're starting out with our morning shout outs, our morning acknowledgements. And of course, we are starting with our girl, Ketty. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, Ketty? Thank you so much for joining us this morning, being willing to start another week with It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Good morning, Lady Tanika. Yes, it's a great day to be alive. Thanking God for choosing to call each of our names. Whether we're here, a part of the show, whether we're viewers, whether we're listeners, God intentionally called your names, kept his breath of life within your lungs, because this is not our air that we're breathing, it's his. Amen. Amen. Tamika says, don't forget Sojourner Truth. Yes, absolutely. And the poem she wrote, Ain't I a Woman? I just learned of that poem earlier this year. See what I'm saying? That's why we have to pick up the book and read. The same way we have to read the Bible for ourselves, the same way we have to research and find our history out, with ourselves. Like we have to be on point. We have to be on point. So we are starting with our health tips this morning. Now, what I've been enjoying doing is, again, for those who are relatively new, even if this is not your first time tuning in with us, Pastor Steph has been giving health tips since the very beginning of It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. May 11th, 2020. It is now September, almost October of 2025. So 5 years of health tips. And she's been giving some dynamic health tips. If you have not been taking notes, make sure you do. Again, if you don't catch us live, you can always go back. Or if you need to go back and take some notes, if you feel like you've been taking notes but you need to jot some things down that you missed, make sure you go back. But I say all that to say, I've been enjoying doing a recap. So actually it's supposed to be Due Time Health Tips Revisited. Okay, and I am going back to maybe 2 lists today, and I'm sure our faithful viewer, Ketty, has these notes. We are going back to a set of health tips that Pastor Steph gave us back in July of 2024, July of last year, July 16, 2024. And it is destructive lifestyles that shortens your life. Yes. Oh, good morning to our girl, Anika. Good morning. Thank you so much for being on with us, ensuring that we are starting off smooth, that we were able to shake the Monday morning blues, no technical difficulties, no chaos this morning. Amen. Praying that your morning is starting off great. So, destructive lifestyles that shortens your life. Being inactive. 150 minutes of moderate activity is healthy for you. So I don't remember if she's saying 150 minutes. It has to be a week, because who's doing 150 minutes a day? I mean, you can. You know what? Let's bump it up. I know for me, one of the things that God has been on me about, and we went to a women's conference last Saturday, not this past Saturday, last Saturday. And one of the things the pastor said, she said, God said, take care of yourselves so that I can properly use you. So if we're not taking care of ourselves mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually in the Lord, then we're not able to be fit to do what he needs us to do, to be able to use us the way he needs to use us. Good morning, Renee. Good morning. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Starting not only your morning, but your week with us. The way you start your morning and your week really helps to set the tone for your day and your week. Okay, so destructive lifestyles that shorten your life. Being inactive. Make sure you get 150 minutes a day, a week of moderate activity, because it is extremely healthy for you. Moderate activity. So you do not have to work out like you're in the army. You can do it in moderation. You can do, I know I try to work out and I try to hit everything, and I'm understanding why they have arm day, leg day, core day, because when you try to do everything, you're walking around 100% sore from head to toe. You're doing too much. So make sure that being inactive is thrown out the window. Make sure you're active, okay? An unhealthy diet. That is another destructive lifestyle that will shorten your life. And an unhealthy diet affects your mental well-being as well. Lacking essential nutrients leads to serious health issues. And listen, we're only getting older. No matter how young or old you are only getting older. We have to make sure that we're eating good, we're eating healthy. Again, Pastor Steph gives health tips every single morning. She's giving this in regards to anti-inflammatory diet and all of that. It's actually a list that I want to follow. So Ketty, if you're able to put your hand on that list, please send it to me so we can let our viewers and listeners know what episode they can go back to listen and tune in for those set of health tips. But you have to have a healthy diet. Okay, soda, and I'm saying this loud too because I'm saying it to myself as well. Soda is not part of a healthy diet. Fried foods is not part of a healthy diet. Processed foods is not a part of a healthy diet. I know we cannot cut absolutely everything out, but whatever you can cut out, cut out. So I know I haven't been eating any sausages or bacon. I don't eat pork. I haven't even been eating the turkey bacon because it's processed. So that's been part of what I've been able to cut out. I do not eat beef because I started to see how it was messing with my stomach. Beef takes an extremely long time to break down in your system. Are you aware of that? An extremely long time. And I wasn't a heavy beef eater, but it was part of the rotation in my diet. But if you have an unhealthy diet, it will definitely contribute to a destructive lifestyle. Okay? Chronic stress triggers hormonal changes in the body, weakens immune system, which makes you open to sleep disorders and other health issues. Get this stress under control, y'all. Triggers hormonal changes in the body. Again, we are only getting older. I don't know about y'all, but I don't need anything helping me to have mood swings. I can do that by myself. I could do that with being inactive, unhealthy diet. But see how everything plays into the next thing? It plays right into the next thing. Okay, destructive lifestyles that shortens your life. Substance abuse. Substance abuse, including tobacco, including alcohol, including weed, leads to cancers, liver diseases, etc., etc., etc. Okay, I know they say drink in moderation, smoke in moderation, but I have to honestly say, since switching to sober from drunk, I feel the difference in my body. And, you know, we have to really stop underestimating the effect that these substances have on our body, because we figure, especially if we're not old, that I can stop drinking, stop smoking, stop popping pills, stop, whatever it is, whatever substance you're consuming. I can stop doing that on Friday, and by Monday, I'm completely healed and better. No effects, no residual, no nothing. No such thing. It takes time. And your body can recover and snap back quicker than my body, because everyone's body is different. But if you are aimed to live a destructive lifestyle, then keep up with the substance abuse. Again, that's including tobacco. And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they have been showing a lot of ads, and especially for young, like adolescents and early teens, the effects that tobacco has on you. The mood swings, the headaches, oh my goodness. And I love it. I love how they're showing it in general. I especially love how they're displaying it through the children, because these kids, I remember trying to start smoking cigarettes in the 9th grade. I know Pastor Steph is going to hear this later if she's not on right now. Yes, I tried smoking. You know, I thought I was cute, walking the street, cutting school with a cigarette in my hand. I don't even think I was smoking it properly, because you know, like you see people smoke and there's a certain amount of smoke that comes out when they exhale. Yeah, that wasn't happening for me. So I would be trying to puff extra hard. So, and like thinking back, it's like stupid. Thank God. God was really protecting me, y'all. If I could just tell y'all, I could have like a whole month and I still wouldn't be covering everything. With just the things I tried to do to my body, I tried to ingest and take in, and the Lord was like, let me just help you, girl. Let me just stand in between you and this thing. I just never took to the cigarettes. I hate the smell. I hated the smell then, so I don't know why I tried. But I would have been doing all of that had God allowed it to be successful. Had he stepped back and said, you know what? I'm going to let you have at it, whether it's for a little bit or a little more. My body would have been so accustomed to that tobacco. When you try to wean your way off, it's almost like weaning your way off from caffeine. Sometimes a lot of us get the headaches and the mood swings. Thank God I don't get that. I did drink coffee until I found something out last week. So until I can drink coffee another way, I will not be drinking coffee. But thank God that when I didn't have those withdrawals. I didn't have withdrawals the typical way when I stopped drinking. But we have to really stop underestimating what this is doing to our bodies, okay? Lady Tamika says it takes 7 whole days for beef to exit the bodies. Only 7? I thought it was longer, but even that's long. Because think about it, if you're using the restroom, but it's still taking 7 whole days for that beef to break down and come out your body, no thank you. No thank you. Destructive lifestyle that shortens your life. Lack of sleep. And this is something that, thank the Lord I'm still alive. Because my sleep patterns are the worst. They've gotten a little better. They've gotten a little bit better. A little bit better. However, it could be so much better. I would be so much perkier and jibber. Is that the word? I would just be jumping if I really committed to getting 8 hours of sleep every single night. It just don't feel like my life is set up that way. But I won't have a life to set up if I don't get more sleep. So I'm going to have to get up on it. Okay? I'm going to have to get up on it. So destructive lifestyles that shortens your life. Being inactive. Make sure you get at least 150 minutes of moderate activity. It is extremely healthy for you. An unhealthy diet, making sure you eat right. If you don't know what to eat, again, go back to every single morning. Pastor Steph gives us health tips every single morning as to what we should and should not be eating. Chronic stress. Don't be doing anything that's going to trigger hormonal balance, weaken your immune system, mess up your sleep. You develop sleep disorders, okay? Substance abuse. Cut out the alcohol, the weed, the cigarettes. I know I'll be going hard when I say weed, right? I do. Because for some reason, they're just not convinced that it's harmful for their body. Whatever the substance is, detox from it. Cut it out. Lack of sleep. Get to sleep. Okay? Remember the health tip? I went back and I revisited when Pastor Steph gave us about changing your sheets. Make sure you do laundry so that your bed, wash the sheets, wash the pillowcases, wash the mattress cover. Again, if you don't have a mattress cover, shame on you, go get one. Okay? It preserves your mattress and it adds to the feel of the new sheets. Get your detergent, your bleach, your fabric softener sheets, whatever it is you use, so that you can get the sleep that is needed. Okay? Everybody wants to live longer. Everyone wants to live longer. I know I do. So we have to make sure that we're staying on top of these things. All right? I love revisiting these. Because it's always good to come up with new things, but I feel so much more intentional when I go back. And it helps me to hold myself accountable as well. Definitely helps me to hold myself accountable as to when it comes to, am I actually following what God has given me? Because that's really important. Am I following what God is giving me? Accountability. All right, let's get into our news. Now, I felt like when Pastor Steph, I be feeling home, and she said the news was rather scarce this morning. But we're going to dive into what I felt talking to God like, all right, God, is this what you have for us? Because again, here on His Due Time with Pastor Steph, we focus a lot more on quality than quantity. Okay. So one of the things I could not bypass, no matter which site I was going on to look for the news, was this gunman in Michigan. Did y'all hear about this? The gunman in Michigan. The man suspected of opening fire on a Michigan LDS church this past Sunday. 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, who was a veteran of the Iraq War. All right, so apparently, or allegedly, he drove his truck into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc, Michigan. And he did that. Then he started firing shots. And then he set the building on fire. So according to the reports, because I did read at least 2 of the articles, there were 4 people who were killed and 8 others who were injured. So unfortunately, there were 4 fatalities. And the FBI is leading an investigation, calling the attack an act of targeted violence, when there were hundreds of people who were in service that day. People are saying he ran the vehicle through the front door of the church and then exited his car and then just randomly started firing shots. And unfortunately, this is not the first time we've heard of someone bum rushing a church while they're in service. So whether it's rehearsal, choir rehearsal, or an actual service, this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. And again, they're saying there were hundreds of people there. Okay, they're saying that the mass shooting comes after a series of violence against churches and other religious institutions, and after a series of political motivated shootings. So they believe that this is related to everything that's been going on already. This also follows a shooting at a waterfront bar. I did come across this article, but I did not bring it up to be mentioned today. There was a shooting at a waterfront bar in North Carolina that left 3 people dead this past Saturday night. So Saturday night, you had the shooting at the bar in North Carolina, and then the following day, you had the shooting at the church in Michigan. So Trump did give a statement regarding this. He says, this appears to be yet another targeted attack on Christians in the United States of America. Okay, so Michigan State Police, they're saying that after the shooting, they did have to respond to several bomb threats at other locations in that same area. Some of those locations were churches. So you have this man run his car into the church, start shooting, kill 4 people, injure 8 people, set the church on fire, and then soon after, they have to start reporting to other churches in the area for bomb threats. So this guy Sanford here, he served 4 years in the Marines from June of 2004 to June of 2008. And he did make his way up to ranking to being a sergeant. I don't know. He is a father of a son who has some serious health obstacles. They did not state whether it's mental health, physical health, I don't know. But the fact that you have a child and the child suffers from anything, healthy or sick, whatever, but this is what you're doing. Like, so someone who has no one, because typically that's what happens. This person has no one, and then they, for whatever reason, decide to go and do something like this. Unfortunately, because of the shootout that took place after he started shooting in the church and set the church on fire, there was a shootout in the church parking lot between him and the police, and they did kill him. So it was not a suicide, but unfortunately he did die. So he will not have to pay here on earth for the lives that he took and injured. And they are still investigating to see if there is a motive. behind what he did. And of course, well, sometimes they do end up, figuring out once they go and see, if there's any notebooks. Was he drawing anything? Was he drawing churches on fire? Was he drawing himself? Did he leave a suicide note? Did he have conversations with other people about how he felt about churches? I don't know. So they may find a motive, but right now they have not. And I mean, you just gouge the church in gasoline and set it on fire with hundreds of people in there. It is sad and scary to think that you can be in church minding your business, paying attention to praising the Lord, and this is what you would even have to consider. I don't know, y'all. So we have next up, actually, I want to make sure I got some quick notes in about this, because we now have a story in regards to a volleyball that took place at Whitewater High School in Atlanta, and the superintendent is just beside himself, outraged, because they had some interesting activity going on at this game. So really quick, I would love to read the caption before going into this a little more. A photo of visitors in blackface at a Whitewater High School volleyball game sparked outrage and a swift response from school officials. Principal Kristen Hall condemned the behavior, stressing it does not reflect the school's values. State Representative Derek Jackson announced a press conference at the Fayette County Board of Education to address the incident and community concerns. Yes, you did hear me right. They decided to have a volleyball game at Whitewater High School and was appalled when they saw this. Blackface. I thought all of this was like done. Good morning, Teresa. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. I thought after Prada, it was Prada, right? Prada came out with the blackface sweater and apologized, the $900 blackface sweater, that we were done with all of this. I don't understand. So let's get into a little of the facts and the scenario as to what happened. So they're saying Fayette County school superintendent is apologizing after visitors in blackface entered the school volleyball game, calling the incident deeply offensive. And they're trying to ensure, the superintendent is trying to ensure that it never happens again. So Superintendent Jonathan Patterson, he did write a letter Monday that the group included one non-Whitewater student, so a student who did not attend the school, along with students who did, who painted their faces and their bodies, as you see, entirely black. He said that some of the faculty members did confront the visitors after they entered the gym, but acknowledged they should not have been allowed inside in the first place. Well, where's school safety? Because from my knowledge, you're not allowed to have any activity going on at the school without school safety being in attendance. So there had to have been someone at the door. Okay. They're saying each was wearing a white curly afro style wig, and was really trying to smile to show these teeth. Spelling Riley in the photo. Oh, the principal said none of them attended the school. Wow. Okay. None of them attended, so they just decided to pop up and so State Representative Derek Jackson demanded that superintendent Jonathan Patterson take immediate and decisive action in response to this incident. So there's a quote here, quote, "The presence of blackface was an act of profound insensitivity, and the Fayette County school system failure to address it was unacceptable." And that quote was taken from the state representative, Derek Jackson. "This is a time for the superintendent to leave. We are here to demand that the superintendent take immediate and decisive action." So they are saying that the Fayette County schools will collaborate with the NAACP for cultural awareness training and review conduct policy to prevent blackface incidents. What's with the training? What's supposed to be happening during the training? You need training. Didn't we speak last week about like common sense and for cultural awareness training? What does that mean? What does that mean? So I need training in order to know not to come looking like this. I don't know which one it falls. Not to come looking like this. I need training on that. The NAACP demands decisive action, highlighting the lack of specific policies against blackface in the student code of conduct. We need policies against this now. Okay. I guess that's why they feel we need the training. Superintendent Patterson apologizes for the blackface incident, acknowledging, yes, because according to, I did read also that these people say it had nothing to do with anything being racial. The blackface. And they went all out because, as you see, they done painted the chest and everything. And the afros. The other side of the fence don't wear no afros. They would love to. And the only way they could is if they put a wig on. But this has nothing to do with any racial, no racial connotations, no nothing. No. Anika says, "I'm convinced they are obsessed with black folks. Anytime they do something stupid, it's in relation to blacks." I mean, what other culture has been mocked with blackface, and what other culture wears afros authentically? You don't need wigs to wear afros. I don't know. What do y'all think? Get up in these comments. Get up in these comments. I don't know. They're not. I would like to know that as well. As the state representative stated, how did they get into school? You have at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of them walking in. 5 of them walking in like this. Already, whether I associated this with anything racial or not, before I would have got mad, the fact that you walking up in here with your face painted is already giving dead presidents. Okay, listen. It's already given. It's about to be a hostile situation. I don't know if you're coming in here to stick the school up. I don't know if you're coming in here to. I don't know what you're coming in here to do, but you ain't coming here to do anything upstanding. This does not give law-abiding citizen. This gives stick up. This gives you being stupid racially. This is giving all of that. So already, once I would have like. This is not like you going to a Knicks game and you done painted one side orange and the other side blue. Like, and even with that, like you walk into a school with all of this. We just got finished going over how this man ran his truck into the church and shot it up. How many times have we heard about people running up in schools, the schoolyard and all of that? This is not the climate for you to be painting your face. I don't care what color. You could have painted it white. What? No. So already there, the breach was there. The breach, I agree, was there at the front door. What do y'all think? Because this is this is outrageous. Okay, so last week, Pastor Steph brought up the Starbucks employee who was fired for writing something racial on the cup because the customer went in and ordered a Charlie Kirk drink. It was a drink that Charlie Kirk loved to drink, and he frequently ordered from Starbucks. And when she ordered it, she noticed that the employee wrote racist or some, I forgot what it was, but it was some racial comment. Well, Pastor Steph asked, should Starbucks be held, accountable as a brand for what that one employee did? Some of the Due Time crew felt you're the face of the brand. So unfortunately, and then Pastor Steph and the other side was like, well, no, not necessarily, because that's just one employee. Well, it may not matter too much longer because most Starbucks are getting shut down. And not because of that incident. Starbucks has announced it will lay off 900 workers and close down shops across the country, including dozens in NYC. Some of those Starbucks are unionized, but it's not going to matter. They're saying the plans to shut down some of the select coffee shops as part of a review of its coffee houses in North America. The goal of the review is for every coffee house to deliver a, quote, warm and welcoming space. And that was stated by Starbucks chairman and CEO Brian Niccol. So, of course, we know, what makes the difference between Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. Well, Dunkin' Donuts is grab and go for the most part. You go in, get your donuts, you get your hash browns, you get your croissant, you get your whatever. You get your hot coffee, your cold latte, whatever you get, you grab it and you go. Starbucks, their mission was for you to bring in your laptop, bring in your devices, and you sit, you order your coffee, you order your latte, you get your scone, and you sit and you vibe out in Starbucks. Well, you won't be vibing out for too much longer because they're closing most of them in New York City alone. Okay? So I do have another quote from the chairman, from the CEO. Quote, during the review, we identified coffee houses, Starbucks coffee houses, where we're unable to create the physical environment our customers and partners expect, or where we don't see a path to financial performance. And these locations will be closed. Now, again, their goal, their mission was to create that vibe. But if you didn't get the vibe, but the finances was on point, you would not be closing. So let's stop. You would still be aiming for that because, the whole aura is what made Starbucks. Again, that's what separated Starbucks from a Dunkin' Donuts. Because if you wanted that, listen, before I drunk coffee, I would be in the city and I'll be walking around looking for a Starbucks just because I want to sit in there with my laptop, with my iPad and work. I could have gotten something else to drink. I've done it. I've gotten a refresher or something. And I've sat in there and just vibed out. I didn't need to have a coffee. So yes, you do want to keep the mission alive. Absolutely. But you're not going to close down because people don't want to sit in there. Why don't people want to sit in your establishment anymore? Can't blame COVID. Because listen, let me tell y'all what's been popping off. Especially if you're in the New York City area. Capital One has gone a long way with their cafe spots. Okay. Union Square, by 34th, Penn Station. You go, they have been packed, especially on a Monday, because Mondays, if you are a Capital One account member, a Capital One card holder, you get free drinks, like coffee drinks, not alcohol drinks. You get free drinks. And again, unfortunately, because of what I learned about coffee, I'm not drinking coffee right now. But yeah, and I went in there on a Monday about almost a month ago, and I couldn't even walk in the door. So what's happening? I don't know. But really quick, they did make a list of some of the shops that will be closing in New York City. You have one on First Avenue, 219 First Avenue, 111 University Place, 145th 3rd Avenue, 140th West Street, 756 Avenue. Those are just some to name a few. Okay. The closure suite comes after Starbucks shut down its iconic Astor Place location last year. The Greenwich Village shop poured its last cup of coffee last year in July. And that one was open for March of 95. See, and this brings me to when Pastor Steph and I always speak about the importance of making sure you uphold your brand, because a lot of people feel like, oh, I ain't never going to go down, or that business, that brand will never go down because it's so popular. It's just like any other brand. So Mr. Nickel, the CEO, says we will offer generous severances, and support packages, including benefit extensions for the employees that they will be laid off. And I did come across a couple of quotes from some coffee drinkers. Many people say they would not miss their local Starbucks. One commentator said the coffee was overpriced and overrated. Another person said the company built a brand and then destroyed it. Another said, I'm shocked it's not staying. I like the brown sugar shaken coffee. My dog liked the pup cup. How will I explain to her no more pup cups? Okay, on that note, we are going to go to our due time crew, because now the dog is drinking coffee out of the pup cup. Let's bring up Lady Tamika. I don't know what's going on. Good morning, Lady Tamika.
Monday morning. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful.
Good. Now, Lady Tamika, so you did give us the quick tip about the beef. I thought it was a lot longer that the beef took to get out of your system, but thank you so much for that tip. Is there anything on that list that has you like, oh yeah, I either need to give that lifestyle up, or I gave that lifestyle up, so now the quality of my life is better?
I gave it all up and I'm better for it.
Okay. So we have this gunman in Michigan who ran his car into the church, got out his car, started firing, killed 4, injured 8, and then set the church on fire, and then had this massive shootout. So unfortunately, he died in the shootout. He was a veteran, worked his way up to sergeant, had a child that had some type of health issues, disabilities. They didn't state in which area. But what do you say is going on, Lady Tamika? Because unfortunately, this is not the first time we're coming across this.
Right. And I don't understand people's psyche, and I understand that he had, some concerns, but you rammed your car into the church. Then after ramming the car into the church, you go through all of this, like, what is the process? Like, wouldn't just ramming the car have been one thing, or just shooting? Any one of these little incidents, well, not that they're little, but any one of them could have caused trauma, and then after all of that, you set the church ablaze and go on a shootout. Like, you really, really wanted your life ended, because you're not going to, if you serve jail time, you're never going to get out. So life is over anyway. So, and unfortunately, they took him out.
And I don't, and it's like, was the goal for you to get taken out? Like, did you plan on killing yourself after? Because, like you said, you're not gonna get away with this. You're not gonna get away with this if you get caught. Let's bring up our Pastor KL and hear his thoughts on what he thinks about yet another church shooting. Good morning, Pastor KL.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning. How you guys doing?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
Great. So again, we have this 40-year-old gentleman who just decided to run his car into this church with hundreds of people there while service is going on. Get out, start shooting, set the church on fire, then have this massive shootout in the church parking lot. Thank God no one else got hurt during that interaction, and then he gets killed. What is happening here?
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, while this is ridiculous, my concern at this point, because he's dead, my concern at this point is the people. You know, we have a hard enough time getting people to trust God, getting people to come to the other side, trying to encourage people to leave what they're doing and believe that God can work it out. Now you done ram to the church. Now I'm thinking that the people who are not really saved are saying, "Where's God?" You know, the people who are not really saved is, I thought we were covered. You know, the people who are not really saved is, you told me to come over here for this. No one was driving into the club. No one was doing that. I was, as Shontyce would say, I was safer in the club. So my concern is really not for him and his stupidity, because he's gone, but for the people, for the aftermath of how we have to deal with this. What's the stories we tell? How do we now convince God that God is still God in spite of?
Good question. And that's something that actually came across my mind as well. It's like, okay, so now here you got a set of people that'll really be on that type of mentality. Lady Tamika, what do you feel like their mindset should be on? Because it would cross your mind, even maybe to some believers. Like, wait, what is happening? What's going on here? You know, what kind of mindset do you think the people should be on? As Pastor Kale has said, because you have a lot more who made it out alive than who passed. Oh, you're muted, Lady Tamika.
Sorry. And just like the mindset, like I watched somebody, pass away. Somebody was shot here, and all we were trying to do was worship God, and the trauma, the mindset, now I have to find another church, or maybe, what, I'll just stop because it's not worth it, which is sad, because the plight of man or whatever he was going through caused somebody to leave, a place of worship. Some will go to another one, and some will just say, okay, that's it, which hurts my heart because, we have no control over what man will do. And God knows, God knew that this was going to happen. And now the church at large, we're not just talking about them. We're talking about the church at large is going to have to heal from this.
Absolutely. Pastor KL, as a pastor, as leadership in the church, what would be the mentality that you encourage those who were there to witness it, or those of us who are now on the outside looking at this?
Well, first you have to be able to solidify and them to understand that God makes no mistakes, and it's not our place to question God. Then also the scripture said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. Though I don't understand what's going on, yet will I trust him. Though I don't understand the decisions that he made, yet will I trust him. We sometimes say stuff, yeah, I trust God, but do we really trust him in the midst of, in situations like this? Are we really trusting God? Even when it doesn't feel so good, do we really trust God's decisions? to take a loved one or take a life, it's hard. It's hard to deal with that. Yeah, I trust God. God, you just took my son. God, you just took my brother. But yet you want me to trust him. And we have to. We have to believe that God does not make mistakes, and that he can do anything other than fail.
Amen. Amen. And I know for some it's like at first so hard to look past that. But unfortunately, as you two are speaking, it's like, God says you're going to be dealing with some stuff, a lot of things we don't understand, a lot of things we don't agree with, but God will reveal himself through everything. And again, unfortunately, this is not the first time we're coming across an incident like this. You've had it to where there were other incidents where people were in the middle of worship or choir rehearsals, and someone just ran up in the church and started going crazy, whether they started shooting, someone ran up in the church and attacked the pastor. It just really shows a lot too of how reckless this world is getting. So just praying that everyone who was able to make it out of there is able to make it out mentally as well as they did physically. Okay, so then we have this high school volleyball game, and some of the attendees showed up as blackface. And they even took it a little further, because not only did they paint their face, but they painted their chest, their arms, and had on these curly wigs, and then stated that this was not a racial jab. There were no racial connotation to this. And the state representative is all on the superintendent's back right now. He's like, how did they even make it into the school? The superintendent asks, how did they even make it into the school? And so these were people who did not attend the school. So there are plenty of areas here that needs to be raised for concern. You got people who showed up in the school who don't attend. You don't know how they got in. Well, you know how they got in, but you're asking, how did they even get in? So people who don't attend the school and they're shown with their faces all covered up. Lady Tamika, can you make sense out of this? Oh, you're muted.
I don't know why I keep doing that. Sorry. This one, as well as the last one, you just can't figure out what people's psyche and mental is. So you're saying that it wasn't racially motivated. Okay, got that. Granted. So why didn't you use a green face? Why didn't you use a purple face? Why didn't you use an orange face? Why didn't you use a blue face? Why specifically black? And again, afros. Why didn't you wear long spiky hair? Why didn't you wear the long blonde wig? Why does it have to be an afro? Who else do you know has afro? Any other, just grant anybody, any indigenous people that have afro. Hello?
That was my question. Where else are you going that authentically, and when I say where else, meaning what other culture, authentically they have wigs on? So Pastor KL, you go to your grandchildren's game and you see 5 people walk in like this. And they're like, oh no, but this has nothing to do with anything racial. We're just here to support the volleyball game.
First of all, faculty or people at the door should have stopped this buffoonery. This is crazy. So where is the leadership? And does the leadership find this cute? Because if at that time, we need to deal with the leadership as well. We keep on dealing with the incidents, but we're not dealing with the repercussions. We're not dealing with the people at top. If the school or the leadership stood for something, these people would have never tried that. They'd have never tried that. We as black and brown people, we know that if we get pulled over, we don't act crazy with the police. Why? Because it already has been shown that if you say the wrong thing, you're going to get shot. You know, so it has already been proven that way. So if the leadership has proven that if we don't tolerate this in our school, that would have never been done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I was saying, who was sitting at the front desk and you didn't talk to nobody, you didn't stop them, you didn't do anything.
You just took their money.
Right. Do they pay? Do they charge to attend school games?
Yeah, they pay. They pay a lot of games. Well, I know here they do.
Okay.
Even here sometimes, depending.
Depending on what it is.
You have to pay.
Okay, right. So you pay like Pascal said, you pay your money and you just walk right on it. And that would be worse because even if it's real quick, there was some type of interaction going on in the front, even if it wasn't with school safety. So if you have school safety and then someone else sitting there taking tickets or taking the money, it was still long enough for you to say, do something. So you ain't hit nobody up on the walkie-talkie and say, okay, well, you got 5 black faces towards you right now. Nothing. You said, so you just walk up in the gym and just scare everybody. Catch everybody off guard. Ridiculous.
The only way that makes sense to me is if they all went to the bath, like they came in and they didn't have it, and then they went in the bathroom and took care of that. But you can clearly see some of them are male and some of them are female.
Right.
So, no.
Right. They're most likely they walked in like that.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely. And again, this is in Atlanta. I really couldn't see this happening in New York. I really couldn't see this happening in New York. Not to say crazy things don't happen in New York, but I'm just trying to envision blackface walking up in a New York City high school gym and something doesn't transpire from that. I don't know.
Atlanta is very similar to New York. Their mentalities and I can only say that because I live there.
Mm-hmm.
So I would need to know the demographics, like what part of Atlanta, because if you're talking about DeKalb County, it's not going to be like, it would be very similar to New York. Now, if you're talking about a different part of Atlanta, maybe.
Okay, I don't know, but I hope that whatever was said to them or something gets done so that they don't try this again. That's ridiculous. So last week, Pastor Steph brought up the whole topic of a Starbucks with the employee who wrote racist on the lady's cup because she ordered Charlie Kirk's favorite drink. And now 900 employees are about to get laid off because they're closing down many Starbucks across the country and dozens of them in New York City alone. And they've already started. They've closed one down, like the most iconic one that's been up since 1995. And the CEO is saying that he's prepared to give some type of extended benefit package to the employees because some of the Starbucks are unionized. But it has a lot to... I'm hearing a lot of the conversation that took place last week in regards to that, the brand of the face of the brand. And, when a lot of people feel like, oh, that business or that brand will never go down because it's too successful and it's been around for such amount of years. And Lady Tamika, does that ultimately matter at the end of the day?
Well, apparently not at this point. I used to kind of giggle because it's like, we used to say, well, if you got a Starbucks in your neighborhood, you have arrived, and that's one of those brands where, you go into, a bookstore, a mall, we just got one, the last 5 years in our neighborhood. So I was like, ooh, we finally arrived, and now to hear after all of the moving and all of that, the growth that, it's going down, which lets anybody at any time, especially considering since the pandemic, with all of the different shutdowns and all the different closings, that any particular business can be targeted and, you know, can go bankrupt or shut down at any time.
Yes, absolutely. Pastor KL, you were one that was definitely speaking on like the face of the brand and how that can help take the brand down and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts now to now hear the very next week now we're hearing that they're pretty much shutting, they're closing up shop. One of the most successful coffee shops out here.
Well, I do think this might not have contributed to it. However, this put the nail in the coffin, you know, because as it was said on last Tuesday by Pastor Benny, you know, they deal with a lot of racial stuff. You know, they put us out just for sitting in there. You know what I mean? Because we're using the Wi-Fi. Well, the Wi-Fi is for the customer. You know, there's a lot of issues with Black and brown people in Starbucks. So you can't keep on staining the brand and think that it's going to sustain itself. You know, after a while, you're going to lose money. And, you know, yeah, though, you know, a lot of light-skinned folks go there, you know, if you lose 10 Black folks, you've lost money.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't understand with retail is that retail, you go by your last year profits. You know what I'm saying? So you have what's called an LY and you have a TY, which is this year. So if this year is not beating last year, you're making no money. So at some point you have to go. So if last year I made money because I had those 10 Black folks, and this year those 10 Black folks decided not to come, I've lost money. And if I get enough Black folks not coming to drink whatever they drinking, we're losing money. And we can't sustain ourselves like that.
Right, absolutely. And they are rather expensive, especially compared to like donuts, in my opinion, donuts are better than Starbucks. But again, a lot of people gravitated to Starbucks because of the whole atmosphere. You know, if I want to sit down, I want that vibe, I'm going to go there versus going to Dunkin' Donuts. But to also back up, Pastor Kale, what you were saying, and that I kind of touched on very little. I came across some information and read up on some stuff about this coffee that we drink. And when we buy coffee from the stores, when we buy, so whether we're buying like the packet, the Folgers in the container, all of that, we go to Starbucks, we go to Dunkin' Donuts, all that coffee that they use is ground up, right? When the manufacturers grind up the coffee and they store it as they're packaging it to go to the retail stores, to go to like Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks and the other coffee shops. While it's stored, it generates bugs. It generates roaches. And when it's time to now package it up, they go through all of the coffee grains, but they're saying it's inevitable to get absolutely all of it out. So that's what's being packaged and was sent to the stores, and that's what we're drinking. So the only way to most likely avoid drinking roaches is to buy the coffee beans and grind it at home yourself. So when people have like the coffee maker and so on and so forth, that's like the safest way. So I don't have a coffee maker yet. I haven't been drinking coffee for like a week or so. And thank God I'm not the type what's like, oh my gosh, I'm going through withdrawals, I get headaches, I'm going for food. Well, that's all I needed to hear and read. Because I did see the post, I did go and do it. And in addition to that, the FDA allows for protein and whatever else. They allow a certain amount of bugs to be put and packaged into it that they deem is safe enough for the body to consume. So if they say, well, if you consume 14% of the roasted meal, we can allow that. But 10% is okay. So that's what we're drinking. So for people like me who come across this information, already you done lost business, as Pastor Kale said. So if you get 5 people in each borough that's like, I'm gonna start making my coffee at home, or I'm just not drinking coffee at home anymore. That's at least 5 people who is not drinking that. And then if like me, you want to share this information, and who knows how many other people that they share it with will no longer be buying coffee at all. Now here you have less. And again, they're not like, see, Dunkin' Donuts, they have refreshers and stuff. Starbucks has it too, but they're not as good. They're not, in my opinion, they're not as good, because you're mainly you're a coffee shop, so you're already losing a lot. So we, but again, I just hear Pastor Steph in my head, like people be thinking because it's so successful, and I've been saying it as well. Everybody has to stay afloat. Everyone is hoping that they hit their mark for the following month, the following week, the following year. No one's exempt. You can go down too. You can go down too. Okay, well, thank you for engaging in our stories, and with today being Relationship Day, I did come across some tips. Those hashtag relationship goals came to mind, and as we're out here, especially as millennials, Gen Z, we're looking at a lot of these celebrities, because no one really idolizes what they see in front of them. So my parents, my grandparents, my people in my mind, they can have a successful relationship, but for some reason, my hashtag relationship goals is what I'm seeing on social media, what I'm seeing, in the entertainment industry. And I'm like, well, what are relationship goals? What should be the goals? Because we're seeing a whole lot of things that people are aspiring for and towards, I should say, that should not be goals. So they're saying, why are goals important in a relationship? Goals can help navigate the complexities of being in a partnership. They provide a framework for growth, understanding, and support, which are key components of any healthy and lasting relationship. So one of the goals that they're giving is, one of your hashtag relationship goals should be provide a sense of direction and purpose. Relationship goals help couples agree on where things are heading and what they want to achieve together, whether it's working toward financial stability, planning for a family, or simply striving to be more supportive. Lady Tamika, should that be a relationship goal?
Absolutely. Just like anything else that you engage in, you want to, build finances, you want to go somewhere, you want to take a trip, you got to have some type of plan. He's like, oh, we just chilling. And she's like, oh, we about to head towards the altar. He's going, so, it is important that you both communicate. Communication is the major key. If I got on a football outfit and you got on a basketball outfit, we're never going to get anywhere. It is so important that that you communicate. What are we doing? What's the next step? Do we have a next step? Are we doing anything? Are we just hanging out? Be clear about your intentions. That way there's no confusion and you minimize less arguments and any other issues that could transpire.
Absolutely. Thank you. Pastor KL, should this be a relationship goal?
Definitely. I mean, you have to have some similar goals in order for stuff to work out. You can't, and then you have to be specific. We can't just say at 50 years old, hey, we just want to make money so we can get a house, and you as a female is excited because my potential husband want to make money, but then after you get married, you realize that he wants to rap. He thinks he's going to make money rapping at 50 years old. At some point, we wasn't specific with our goals. And as funny as that sounds, we do that a lot. We just hear the surface of the conversation and never dissect what this mean. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for us? What does this mean for our potential children? I just want to make money, but I can go on the corner of 42nd Street and sell drugs. I'm making money. I was true to my promise. We was never specific on how I was gonna make this money, but the money came in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You keep going back to the 50-year-old rapper. Who do you know that's the KO that wants to rap?
Listen, I think we had somebody. One of your friends, wasn't it?
He wasn't 50 though.
All right, 49. 49.
No, but those are two really good points that you two brought up. You know, making sure that the goals are aligning. Because if you're talking right and I'm talking left, it's like, okay, what are we really saying? Okay, another hashtag relationship goal: promote open and honest communication. Relationship goals encourage partners to openly share their needs and expectations. This process not only helps in understanding each other better, but also in building a strong foundation of trust and transparency. Lady Tamika.
Right. And that's basically what I just mentioned. Open communication.
Yes.
Don't allude to such and such. Don't assume such and such. Because you'll have yourself, you introducing him to all your friends and blah, blah, blah. And he's like avoiding these meetings, and you trying to figure out why, as opposed to just asking the question, and you introducing her as your side piece, and she's like, what's going on? Somebody else shows up. Both of you, she took an assumption that everything was good, and she just shows up at the house and there's another female there. So, those things that you gotta talk, make it very clear what it is that we're doing. And then if they don't seem to understand, make sure that they get it. If I gotta tell you 90 times for you to get it and make it clear, then let's do that. Because I don't want you to assume. I definitely don't want alluding to any type of circumstance and we, end up fighting and feuding because it wasn't clear.
Not the side chick. Oh my goodness. Pastor KL. Oh wait, before we get to you, Pastor KL. Good morning, Terrence. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. You're late. Okay, Pastor KL, should open communication and honesty be a hashtag relationship goal?
Yes. Yes. I mean, not only that, but the person on the other side has to be able to hear what is being said. Unfortunately, we don't hear what's being said. If I come to you and I introduce you to Shontyce and I say, hey, this is my friend, Tamika. My friend, Tamika. You're my friend. You know what I mean? But you don't hear that. You just hear, friend, I'm the girlfriend. No, you're the friend. So we want to increase titles, saying when the title has not been given to us. Yes, you're the friend. Now if I say, hey, this is my cousin, and then I tell you later on, hey, I had to say you're my cousin because, and you run with it, you're not hearing what's said. And a lot of times, the old players like myself, I had friends and cousins. I'm just being honest, but you heard what you wanted to hear. So, a lot of times things are being said, but you're not hearing what's being said.
Tell you about the cousins. They want to talk about them cousins.
I'm cousins.
Yeah, but absolutely. So communication, that's something that I always disarmed anyone I've ever dealt with. You can't say you ain't know. I done said it. I heard when I said it. I was here when I said it. You can't say it wasn't no, you didn't know. I don't give any outs when it comes to that. Okay. Hashtag relationship goals. Cultivate emotional intimacy. Goals related to emotional connection, such as improving communication or understanding each other's love languages, directly contribute to building deeper emotional intimacy. Lady Tamika.
Definitely. That's one of those things that people, even married couples, have issues with. Like you don't understand my love language. Like, let's just say, for instance, I like for you to affirm. I like for you to tell me that I'm beautiful. This is my love language. But you buying me gifts. And unfortunately, there's a lot of times there are misreads. Okay, fine, you gave me gifts, but you didn't tell me anything today. You didn't tell me how much, I mean to you, and a lot of times there are miscues all the time, and these are what, you have to understand what it is that she likes or he likes so that there is a communication, that there's not a breakdown of, okay, I'm buying you gifts and, I'm giving her everything that she wants, but she just keeps saying that I don't care. And it's the miscue. She just wants you to tell her that she's appreciated. Maybe she wants you to clean up. Maybe that's her thing. Maybe that's her love language, acts of service. So you're cleaning up, and now she understands that you love her because her love language is acts of service.
Absolutely. Pastor KL, cultivate emotional intimacy. Relationship goal.
You need a new love language because I'm not cleaning up. You need a new love language. Don't nobody want to talk about my love language is washing the dishes. Don't nobody want to hear that. No, thank you. No, thank you. But yeah, so we need to listen to hear and not listen to respond. Not listen to fix. A lot of time with men, we listen to fix because we think though you're just venting that we have to fix something because we have the cape on. So who's bothering you? What's happening? And sometimes you just want to express yourself. You just want to get it off your chest. And we don't do that. I often say that a woman speaks the loudest when she says nothing at all. So if you just listen to her silence, you can understand whether she's happy, whether she's sad, whether she's depressed, but you have to be in tune.
Absolutely. Be in tune, have to be attentive. And if there is no emotional intimacy, you can't be in tune. You can't be attentive. Absolutely. Hashtag relationship goals. Help couples navigate conflict more effectively. When couples understand what they are working toward, they are more likely to approach disagreements constructively, keeping the bigger picture in mind. Lady Tamika.
Yeah. Have some type of goal in mind and make sure that both parties are clear on what we're doing. I'm saving money for a car and you saving money, for a house and my money can't, no. My money goes over here. Your money goes over there. We're not cohesive on what we're doing, and what ends up happening is you got money split when in actuality it should be towards one goal. If we put more money, if both of us put our money here, look how much faster we'll be able to attain our goal. However, if you're putting money towards a car and I'm trying to make sure that all of the bills are paid, now I'm running short on paying a lot. We're sitting here in the dark because you got money for a car.
Right. Pastor KL, hashtag goals. Help couples navigate conflict.
Well, you got to prioritize. One have a house, one has a car. What do you need the most? You know what I mean? So everything has to be prioritized. If Lady Tamika is trying to save money for a house, and I'm trying to save money for my rap demo, we're not prioritizing. There's a problem somewhere.
Oh, what?
For my rap demo, I'm trying to be a rapper. So, what I mean? I'm trying to get my demo to Diddy in jail. I'm trying to see what he can do for me. But yeah, we got to really prioritize. And you know what? The house is good. The car is good. Those are two great entities. However, what's the priority? You know what I mean? If I need a car to get to work so I can, sustain the money of my check to get the house, I'm saying, that we might need to get a car first. You know what I mean? But if I got, if I'm living in a shoe, and we already got a hoopty that runs, let's get the house.
Right.
Again, if you got a piece of car that's getting you from plan A to plan B, then you can hold on to that and let's work on the house.
Right. Absolutely. I was actually came across a post yesterday with Omar Epps. You know who that is, Pastor Kale? Okay. And You know the group total, since you just brought up Diddy? You know the group total? Okay, so the girl, total member Keisha, she's been married to, they've been dating, her and Omar has been dating since 92, but they've been married about 20 years. So they've been together, I think so about 30 years or so. And he said that once breaking up was off the table, it changed the whole trajectory of their arguments. Because they both knew and understood, I ain't leaving you and you ain't leaving me. And when I read that, I was like, that's dope, because that does change the way we argue. When we know that we still gonna have to look at each other because we both committed. And when I read it, I got the vibe more from not break up after they got married, post-marriage, even prior to marriage. Like, okay, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, but we're not breaking up. So we're going to have disagreements. We're going to have arguments. And he said, you know, you can always love someone, but not like them. And I can honestly say, I still like her. I love her and I still like her. And I thought that was so impactful, because really quick arguments I've had with people, you know, whether we're intimate relationship or not, but just arguments I've had with people really quick just play through my head. And it does make a difference when you know you can just say peace out and walk off, versus when it's like, but I still gotta look at you either later on today or God spares tomorrow. I still have to face you. That does change the way, and it really helps to set the tone in you being able to see how someone feels about you. So for example, there's someone who I battle with, well, I have, because I'm done battling. I've battled with when it comes to, well, I haven't walked off, but you have. And I can hear the difference in how we argue or even just have a simple disagreement with the way I speak versus the way you speak, because there's nothing for you to walk off. For me, I couldn't just walk off. So I hear the difference in the way we speak. I speak to you, you speak to me, because in my head, I can't just walk off from you. But in your head, it's like, I could say kind of whatever, good or bad, fake or real, because I can walk off. So I think this is a really good goal, how to navigate conflict effectively, because we're always going to have conflict. But how can we get through it? You know, y'all in the chat, let us know if y'all agree with these hashtag relationship goals, because it sounds like whoever made this list knew what they was talking about.
You know what? This is what I would say, and I agree with everything you said thus far. However, I think that couples who are dating, certain goals they shouldn't make until after they get married. You know, I mean, if I'm dating you, you know, and we dating for 12 years and we buy a house together, that's not good. If we only dating, I'm not buying a house with you. Mm-hmm. I'm not signing anything with you. I'm not getting a bank account with you. If we're only dating, you know, that just not going to work out too well. You know, so you know, you got to be careful with some of the goals you make.
Absolutely, I agree. Hashtag relationship goals. Build resilience. Okay, wait. No, we'll come back to that, because I was kind of hand in hand with the conflict. Hashtag relationship goals. Encourage personal growth. Relationship goals often include supporting each other's personal growth and dreams. This mutual encouragement helps each partner to not only grow as individuals, but also brings new energies and experiences into the relationship, keeping the dynamic fresh and evolving. Lady Tamika.
Absolutely. You definitely want to encourage personal growth. You know, he's aspiring and he's an entrepreneur, and she's still sitting at home trying to figure out, you know, what to wear today. Like she doesn't have a job. She's not, you know, goal oriented. She's not trying to do anything. She's just sitting trying to figure out what movie to watch on some type of social media. You know, it is important, you know, not only that, you know, to encourage each other into doing greater and more. You know, you doing a shoe shine service at this point, don't make sense. Talk about stuff that makes sense, because there are times where we look at stuff and sometimes we're a little, not necessarily straight, but talk about stuff that will cause value. Don't just pick up these, sky-brain dreams, and then just expect it to work. Make sure that you both are speaking about things that are going to benefit you both individually as well as collectively, so we can grow collectively. And again, the things that I'm speaking of is always marriage minded, because like he said, like Pastor KL said, a lot of things that you really don't need to do until you get to the point of engagement, because prior to that, in some instances, okay, fine, you got a house and now y'all feuding. You went and bought this house and now you can't even stay in the same room. So basically y'all are living together as roommates. Doesn't make any sense.
Not at all. Not at all. Pastor KL, relationship goals, encourage personal growth.
Definitely. If you see something, in someone, you see that they're striving, or I want to go back to school to do this and do that. Of course, you definitely encourage that, because listen, the better your mate is, the better your relationship is. When she feels or he feels good about themselves, then they bring that to the table. And that enhances the relationship. So if I'm my age and and you see me in the studio, you see me writing, my lyrics, encourage me. You know what I mean? Because I might get that break. So the better I am on as they say in the old days, on the ones and twos and on the mic, you know what I mean, the better I'll be in the relationship. So don't down me.
Somebody give him a record deal, please, so he can put out one rap song and be done.
Yes, y'all, to the beat, y'all.
Ain't nobody buying that. Okay. Relationship goals. # relationship goals. Be yourself by yourself to strengthen your relationship. Encouraging each other to pursue individual hobbies and interests not only supports personal growth, but also brings fresh energy and perspectives into the relationship. Cultivate self-love and individuality through loving kindness, a series of meditations to help you first connect with yourself and then with others. Lady Tamika.
I just had my brain just literally stopped. Can you go to Pastor KL and come back to me? I am so sorry.
No problem. Pastor KL.
Yes, y'all.
Please.
Listen, it's important to have your own time. A lot of times, especially in fresh relationships, man, we want to be with each other all day. Be on the phone until somebody falls asleep by accident. You know what I mean? You still listening? Yeah, I'm still listening. No, listen, after a while, there's but so much you can do. You have to separate yourself so that you can come back to the table fresh. If I keep on inhaling what you exhale, you know what I mean? Then we have, after a while, there's going to be problems. Because I'm going to get tired of being with you. Because then what's going to happen is that you're going to get so used to me being around that when I want my space, you're going to automatically think I'm doing something else. He ain't never come home this late. He usually comes straight home from work. The day I stop to get milk, I got to be talking to somebody else. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's you got to have your own space.
Wait, we gotta come back to that real quick after Lady gives her thought. Lady Tamika, # relationship goals. Be yourself by yourself to strengthen your relationship.
Absolutely. And thank you for coming back to me.
Of
We're not living that, what is it, coming to America life? What do you like? Or whatever you like, that could drive somebody crazy. I went to step forward and then you got a thought and I went to turn around and I run right into you. Like, bruh, yes, give me some space. I can't, there are things that, and have something separate, he likes basketball, she likes crocheting, let's just say, for instance, have something that's different, be able to separate. I like to work out. Al likes to play basketball. I'm not going to go to the basketball court to play basketball because I'm not interested. I like football, but I'm not going out there playing football, and then, you think about it, there are seasons for basketball. There are seasons for football. So, we're not interrupting each other thing, you want to watch something on television, he's watching the game,
right.
Have something different that you can do. Fill your time with something so that you're not all over each other trying to, maybe today I just want to lay out and veg on the couch. I'm laying on the couch. Here you come. Give each other some space though, so that you can be you, and then, with that, when you give each other space, then I can say, well, how was your day today? If I'm in your face all day long, I already know what your day is. You don't have anything to say to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Can we have a comment? Even engaged couples need to keep from certain commitments. Absolutely. Good morning. I think that's Steph. Okay. And then we have space is so important early. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to really quickly go back to what Pastor KL was saying, because that is so true. So we're up under each other all the time, or I think I know your pattern so well, because typically you do this, and at 5 o'clock you do this, and normally it only takes you 28 minutes to drive home from work, and then normally you come over here and we do this. And then, like he said, the one time I may veer off a little to do something a little different, and men and women do it. We just hear about women nitpicking with this a lot more than we hear about the men doing it, but both sides do it. Now it is this whole big ruckus because, what you were doing. And if anyone watched White Chicks, the one who played Marlon's wife, she laid the whole thing out. I looked at MapQuest. It takes you 20 minutes to get here. You left there at such a time. You got here at this time. So that leaves 5 minutes. So if you got somebody on the side and you need to just tell me, he was like, but that's 5 minutes. You don't think if I was doing something with another woman or anything, it would have taken a little more than 5 minutes? Lady Tamika, what are we saying for, especially as the comment was just stated, space is so important, especially early in the relationship? What are we saying for, listen, stop trying to know my pattern like that. Stop getting all engaged in my pattern like that, because now the second anything can happen, God forbid I get a flat tire, God forbid a squirrel tap dances across the street and now the whole street is held up, but you just timing me. Now, how does that now change the whole trajectory? Because I've watched it change like the whole trajectory of the relationship, because now that one time things are off.
Well, you also have an issue if you have someone like me who's sporadic. I change my perfume all the time. I go down this street and then tomorrow I might make a left, but if you've got someone who, is oh my God, well, I check his gas, I check his, his mileage, and I check that's just way too much. Maybe one time he went, he decided to he saw something over there that interested him. There was a store that they just opened up. We're looking at places where they close and open stuff overnight, and he just decided to go over there, and, it took him a little longer. Maybe there's a traffic jam. Okay, instead of going down the street he normally has to go down, now he has to go around and make whatever that, stop stressing out so much. It doesn't necessarily mean that he or she is cheating, but breathe a little bit, because a lot of times, you'll find what you need to know will become evident after a while.
Absolutely. Now, Pastor KL, you are the one who introduced this concept of that. Do you have anything else briefly that you would like to mention in regard to that? Like, you try to study my pattern so well that now you feel like you can dictate whether I'm doing something or not.
Well, okay, here's a true story. Me and all you guys know Ainsley, we're best friends. So we were riding on our way home. He was taking me home, actually. This is when I lived in this wonderful house in Queens. And and Ainsley got a flat tire. So we riding around trying to fix this flat. I got 32 consecutive calls from this young lady I was seeing to find out where I was. Now, I already told her we had a flat and we were looking to change the tire. Okay? She consistently called me. Ainsley laughed at me and talked about me that whole night. Now, I also sent her pictures of the flat tire. The tire that was flat. Pictures of the tire. And she's texting, no, that can't be y'all. This. Where you at? Da-da-da. You look like you in another borough. Yes, we were in another borough. Trying to get to the borough that we lived in. Yeah, it's crazy. After that, no more schedule. I see you when I see you.
Wait, but what year was this? Because he's talking about 32 consecutive calls and these pictures. Was it like the now, like social media era? Or was this in like the payphone era?
No, this was in the payphone era.
So how do you get 32 calls?
So I was getting beat 32 times. Okay, so I had one of those good beepers, where you can text, where you can send messages. Okay. I had one of those beepers. Yes. And Ainsley, when I tell you Ainsley talked about me for them whole 2 hours, I hated Ainsley. I hated him to death.
Well, I actually experienced something like that. We went to before at a venue in Brooklyn, and we were with my friends and two of the dancers who performed with me, and it was snowing. It was like really cold. It started to snow. One of the dancers lived in Jersey, but it was too late. We didn't feel comfortable putting her on the Long Island Railroad by herself that late. So we were in a car. We weren't sure if the car was gonna make it, but we were like, you know what? We're gonna do old school. We're gonna pile up in this car, and we'd rather all pile up in this car and take you home than to put you on this Long Island Railroad. And it wasn't super late, but we didn't feel comfortable. I think it was like almost midnight. It was like we don't feel comfortable, so we gonna pray that this car make it there and make it back. And one of the guys in the car was like, I'm for that, but how I'm gonna tell my girl that spontaneously we driving from Brooklyn to drop your dancer off in Jersey? And we was like, just call her and let her know. And he's like, wait, I gotta get my story straight. He's like, okay. So this is like true story. He's sitting there, and now mind you, we with him the whole night. We've been at this venue the whole night together. He never left and came back. We've been together. We like, just call her, put her on speaker, whatever. It's all of us in the car. He's like, well, I gotta get my story together. So we left. What time did we leave? We left at such and such a time. Okay, we in the car that we're hoping it makes it. We're praying it makes it. Okay, we gotta take her to Jersey because we don't feel comfortable putting her on a train by herself that late. All right, wait, what's your name again? So she gave her name. Her name was like a very unique name. Like, you're not going to hear this name anywhere else. He's like, okay. Then it was quiet for like 5 minutes. Then he turns around, he says, wait, how did your parents come up with that name? Because when I call my girl and tell her that name, she's going to be like, who is named such and such? So I need to be able to tell her, well, they named her this. And we were sitting the whole ride. We're sitting in the car dying because he was serious. This wasn't I just want to make y'all laugh. And we were like, this is just way too much. Why are we scared like we dating her? Like, we all have to answer to the fact. But he had to have this whole story laid out. And he's like, okay, wait. Now, y'all not dropping me straight home after we take her. Wait. So then she says, well, get home safe. And then he's like, well, what happens if we don't get home safe? What you gonna do? We just dropped you off. You coming to pick us up? This is way too much hostility going on. And he's like, wait, y'all not taking me straight home. So now when y'all drop her off, we got to go back to the other part of Queens and get the other car, and then we're like, don't go nowhere with us no more. Don't, as long as you dating her, you can't go anywhere else with us anymore, because it's just way too much pressure. The whole car feel like we dating her. It's just too much. So I completely agree with you, Lady Tamika, and you, Pastor KL. We cannot have those stringent. Wait, how did they word it? Those stringent, like, I know where you are, this, that, and the third, with the whole, because anything could happen. And right, it's too much. If you're not leaving room for it, then we don't need to be together. We don't need to be together. But thank you two so much for being on and confirming what should be our hashtag relationship goals. I hope everyone was listening and taking notes, and y'all can marinate, meditate on it throughout the rest of the week, because again, as the generations go on, our relationship goals that we're aspiring towards is not what it should be. So thank you guys so much for confirming that, and praying that you have a blessed day. Thank you.
Blessed day.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love that Pastor KO brought that up, because it's serious. It is serious, y'all. It is really a thing. People are really out here so stringent because they just feel like they know what they know, what they know, what they know. It's like, but do you really know? No, you don't really know. But when we're thinking about goals, goals is something that we're supposed to be aspiring towards, something that we're supposed to be looking towards, encouraging ourselves and encouraging the next person or other people to really fight towards. And the only thing we can do is go to God. Go to God and ask God, where should my focus be? What should I be aspiring to? What should be what I'm looking forward to? Now, I remember one show, we were talking about what our focus is and what should be in our peripheral. And again, especially with the millennials and the Gen Zs, when it comes to relationships, the things that we're focused on should be in our peripheral. The things that's in our peripheral need to be in our focus. And for some reason, we just not getting this thing together. But I love the fact, very rarely do we come across lists that we're like, that part. Yes, a lot of times we're like, okay, who wrote that list? Where is this list coming from? And I love the fact that we can start off the week with talking about promoting open and honest communication, and providing a sense of direction and purpose, and cultivating emotional intimacy, and encouraging personal growth, helping each other understand and appreciate progress, and being yourself by yourself to strengthen your relationship. Because with each of those, we weren't just talking about ourselves, we was also talking about serving the other. And that's what a lot of people, that's something that I actually had to really learn and understand, that being in a relationship, especially a marriage, it's not about what I can get. It's about how I can serve my mate, and this is why women hate the word submission, because it's been used to abuse the definition. Yes, I am to submit to you only if your goal, and let me make sure I say this, right? Because I had to break this down to someone last week. A man said to me last week, women have a problem with submission, with the word and the concept submission. And I was like, oh, and he was like, see. And I said, no, let me break this down for you real quick, sir. I'm not saying, because of submission in general. I'm saying, because I'm thinking about the people who are asking us women to submit. I, as the woman, am supposed to follow you, the man, if, capital IF, if you are submitting to and following Christ. These men out here nowadays, they're like, Christ who? Jesus who? Half of them don't believe in him. Half of them don't want to follow him. Half of them talk about, oh yeah, Jesus is my man's, but they don't pay him no mind. But I'm supposed to submit to you. And what I said to the man a couple of weeks ago was, I can walk in the ditch by myself. Ask Pastor Steph. She talks about it all the time, about how she would tell me, Shontyce, don't walk right there, because in 2 feet there's a hole. I'm like, really? And put my foot right in. And I have to come right back to her like, You just say that hole was right there, 2 feet away. I could do that by myself. I don't need anyone's help doing that, man or woman. I don't. That's just me. I don't. And actually, that's all of us. We don't need help bringing ourselves down. We don't need help going in the wrong direction. We can do that on our own. I don't have a problem with submitting once I understood what submission really was. That's why these definitions that God has me big on, God also has me big on his definitions. That's why it's so imperative that we understand, because even when we think we understand the definition, read it, meditate on it, take it to God, ask him to break it down until it cannot be broken down anymore. Yes, I am supposed to follow you, sir, if you're submitting to and following Jesus. If you are not, you can kick rocks. Take it how you will. You can go about your business. You can go find another woman who would just be all caught up in the fact that she has a ring on her finger and she's your wife. Listen, we all would like to be with someone. We would all like that couple feeling. But if that means that you're going to help me go to hell, that means you're going to help me keep my flesh alive. That means you're going to help me keep up with the traits that God has already stripped from me. And now you're going to try to reintroduce them or try to introduce some new stuff that's going to keep me back. No, thank you. No. So my relationship goals, and I've been coming across a lot of content where it's men and women speaking on when you're a Christian woman and you're really gun-ho, and it's not, some days it's challenging, some days it's not, but you're really gun-ho about following God for you. Your options are extremely scarce. They're extremely scarce, and you will find yourself alone a lot longer than you would be if you were still in the world without Jesus. Why? Because your standards and your morals are not that high. Like, let's just call it what it is. Even if you were a woman who had good morals and values about yourself, it only heightens even more when you say yes to Jesus and you invite him into every aspect of your life. So I say that to say, I'm not that desperate anymore, because once upon a time I was willing to compromise with do a lot of things I knew I had no business doing just so I wouldn't have to be alone. But then I'm realizing what that's leading me to, and I'm like, God, I could do that, but I was doing that by myself. So what should our goals be? It should be everything that we just got finished discussing. It should be about going to God and asking God, how do you want me to be once he's giving you the person? How do you need me to be for him or for her? How do you need me to love him and her? Don't even go and ask them how, because they don't even know. They don't even know. They don't know what they need. They don't know what they want. Go to God and ask God, what type of love? How do you need me to display this love? We brought up love languages earlier. A lot of people don't even know they don't know what their love language is. 1 minute I like gifts, the next minute I like affection, the next minute I like affirmation, the next minute I like public displays of affection, the next minute I just want you to go to church for me, the next minute go to God and let God break it down for you. He'll break it down for you for them, he'll break it down for them for you. Okay? You've been watching It's Due Time with Pastor Steph. Catch us live every single Monday through Friday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Facebook, Coach for Christian Life page, and our YouTube channel, A Closer Walk Christian Media Network. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button, that follow button on Pastor Steph's Facebook page. If you haven't already, contact her. Let her know that you love her, you miss her. God spares, she will be on with us in the morning. Thank you guys so much for being on this morning. Please make sure you focus on God. Keep your eyes on things above, not on things that are here below on earth, because they will only serve as a distraction. Remember, prayer works and changes things. Make sure you come on tomorrow morning, God spares. Make sure you tune in where we will be talking. Let's Talk About It Tuesday, Church Folk Day with our pastors. Thank you guys so much again for being with us. And remember, I love you. Have a good day.